Well, hello and welcome to another Daily Dominion. We have a Seaside Renaissance Kingdom after yesterday's Seaside, barrage of oranges. Today we only have two of those oranges in our kingdom. And actually, yeah, all three Seasides cards that I see are returning from yesterday. And this kingdom, however, will have a different dynamic. Although, yeah, it also hinges on Blockade a lot. And apart from the Seaside duration mechanics, of course, we do have some Renaissance villagers and coffers mechanics. In Silk Merchant, Villain can give you coffers, Swashbuckler can give you coffers and rewards you if you do not have an empty discard pile after playing it. Then lackeys will also give you villagers. So yeah, we have fishing village and hideout as strong-ish villages. Lackeys itself can also, I guess, be considered as some sort of village. Scepter is a replaying village after the fact. I don't think it's going to be all too relevant here. For trashing, in principle, we have priest and hideout. But actually, I've tinkered with this kingdom a bit, and the strategy that I've come up with to work the most reliably against the AI does not involve any trashing, but more about that in a bit. We have road network, also usually too expensive to justify. And yeah, I mean, it kind of disincentivizes your opponent from going for green cards, but if you're going for road network, then your opponent can just build a tiny bit more and you aren't going to be rewarded immediately. And in this kingdom, this is kind of deadly. On the other hand, crop rotation is kind of a nice thingy to kick off your turn if you can somehow get victory cards in your starting hand. And that might come up, but it might also not come up. So, strategy-wise, the thing I've found to work the most consistently, AI is no joke in this kingdom, let me tell you. I tried different strategies, and if you're not on your toes or if you have bad early game draws, AI can smoke you. And the strategy I've come up with just goes all in on blockades. It's not even funny. You just hammer in blockades and blockades and blockades, and if they collide, you do have lackeys to gain to actually be positive on villagers, and silk merchants to gain to give you some coffers to be able to hit price points later. And that strategy is just insane. Usually, if you don't have bad early game draws, you will win after 9 turns. Is the average, or is lower lowest turn count? I cannot talk, man. And is the lowest turn count I've been able to achieve. And yeah, the strategy is just you hammer in blockades, you weave in a few lackeys, fishing villages, and silk merchants, and then suddenly the piles are gone and you are able to province once or twice. And if AI is not on its toes and dilly-dallies around, then you will be able to beat it. But also, even with this strategy, there was one where I had a really bad draw, and after like 10 agonizing turns, I needed to concede. Yeah, but let's take it one step at a time. Look at the kingdom plot for a sec. We have lots of draw and lackeys and swashbuckler. Swashbuckler we actually also avoid in this strategy, as early on when you hit 5 you want to go for blockades anyways, and later on when you hit 5, well, the game is almost over and you might as well go for silk merchant or province with some extra coffers. Instead, also, we skip a villain in this strategy, as well, the discarding actually could even benefit your opponent if they go for a swashbuckler, putting something in a discard. It's the same sort of weakish synergy between swashbuckler and crop rotation. If you're on top of your shuffle, can discard a victory card, put it in your discard pile, and activate this condition. But yeah, the strategy we're going for is not going to touch any of the cards except for Silk, Fishing Village, Lackeys, and Blockade. Maybe a hideout if we need a fishing village or a village-like thingy in a position where fishing village has been blockaded by AI. This kind of depends. But yeah, we're just going to hammer in blockades and lackeys. And also for that reason, it doesn't really matter what the opening split is. We're just going to go for blockade lackeys anyways. I've also tried out like blockade fishing village, but I felt like the sad cases for that were much, yeah, more prominent. And AI also has the 5-2 and probably goes for the same opening as we do. And yeah, our idea is just to, as I said, hammer in blockade. So we set aside a blockade. It is actually amazing to find it on turn 3. And now this would have been an amazing point to pick up a fishing village. However, we do not find fishing, or we do find the fishing village to be blockaded by AI. So what we are going to do is just probably pick up lackeys. I could even see as justifying picking up a curse here, but it's probably better to just go for lackeys for some better short-term benefit. And then next chance we get, we also blockade fishing village ourselves. So here we now have to work with these villagers and just blockade a fishing village because we're rather likely to have another blockade down there. Now we do hit 5 here, and I believe we just click on blockade again. Now this means that we can pick up even more blockades, and probably it's best to be a bit conservative for the actions and pick up another fishing village that we save with the blockade over the shuffle. I'm not completely sure, it could also just be a second blockade. Would be much better if we had hit 4 here to actually buy that extra blockade, but I guess we're fine. And let's replenish our villagers by putting another lackeys into this shuffle. The Silk Merchant being blockaded at this point is a bit annoying, but we can just wait it out one more turn. And yeah, play this fishing village, just blockades, and I guess we can consider going for crop rotation. I'm not sure how good that is at this point. We are very likely, or well, more than 60%, I believe, to find an estate in there. So, yeah, do we go crop rotation or lackeys? I'm tending towards crop rotation, and immediately we are kind of punished for that. But at least then on the next turn we will have some crops to rotate. And we see that piles are already getting really low, especially with the 5 blockades that we will have incoming. We can just set aside a bunch of silk merchants and I guess, fishing village. And what do we buy here? Probably just another lackeys. And then on the next turn, we should be able to already finish the game. AI wisely goes for a province, which is certainly correct. But we should be able to just draw around, play these fishing villages, play these lackeys. The villager situation is fine still. Let's draw back around to our last blockade and just, blockade some lackeys, blockade some silk merchants, and we have enough buys and money. Like we could have even double province here to if we hadn't needed to buy the lackeys, but yeah, we can just province and duchy for a nice 9-turn win. Yeah, and really the strategy, in my experience, is delivering well in this kingdom. Of course, you gotta be a bit careful. You gotta work around AI's blockade a bit, but it usually only goes for one blockade. I think I've tried this 5 times. I've lost once, and the other 4 times just hammering in those blockades, blockading blockades, worked out well. And yeah, it's a crazy miniature kingdom that just revolves around those 4 cards. As I said, also hideout might be viable in some cases. I think at the point where we had it, it was better to blockade a blockade and then just buy lackeys. And that should also usually be fine. You gotta be careful about the villager management. You shouldn't completely over-terminal yourself, but it's fine to be a bit behind on the fishing village stuff. Like we had 3, and I felt like this was more than enough. And AI also managed to snatch 3. It bought a gold somewhere along the lines, which I don't know, wouldn't advise in this kingdom, but yeah, all of these other piles are not touched. And yeah, with that, I mean, also note that even had this gone on for one more turn, we would have been set up very well to draw a deck or draw very far into our deck on the next turn anyways. We could have, instead of setting aside the lackeys, we could have set aside some fishing village. So I strongly believe that this is the strategy you want to go for. In a mirror with your opponent also going for blockade, I guess it's just who gets to blockade blockades first. It's just about this, and there are going to be some other interesting dynamics. But yeah, the presence of the on-gain effects of lackeys with the 2 villagers and submerchant with the coffers and villagers are just really playing towards blockade. Anyways, this was short, just 12 minutes. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will try to catch you in the next one. And until then, goodbye.